Hi Leo, welcome to your mid-June 2019 Tarot and Astrology reading. Thank you for being here. So Leo, we have a full moon in Sagittarius on the 17th of June, and this sets the tone for the next couple of weeks leading into July, when we have an eclipse during the new moon in Cancer. So we're leading up to an awareness for you that feels very intense and feels very emotional and feels very raw. The 12th house energy that we see with Cancer season can feel very emotionally overwhelming, and particularly as we have Neptune retrograding in the sign of Pisces on the 21st, in your sector of intensity, soulmates, joint relationships, and jealousy. It's a confusing enough part of the year. And the revelations that you encounter, be they psychic moments, be they intuitive moments, or be it that you're dealing with people who fit into that bracket, you know, the mystics and the healers, and sometimes even the wounded, the addicts, and those that have been through pain, all teach you something about yourself that you didn't quite know. And you're probably thinking you know yourself pretty well. The eclipse says there is more to your story than you care to believe, and yep, Judgment energy, Page of Wands, and the Tower. Leo's dealing with other fire signs or Scorpios. There's more of a Scorpio and Aries theme to this. The communication and the conversations with Judgment and the Tower are shocking and disturbing all at once. And things crumble. And you're surprised at how they're crumbling, and you realise that perhaps you were building upon a foundation that wasn't quite as honest as you hoped it would be. And this could be that you weren't being honest with yourself, or the person you're dealing with was not being honest, Leo. But I see you in the middle of truth and destruction, and you choosing the destruction rather than the truth. You're the Page of Wands here, and you're looking towards the Tower. So you're only seeing what's crumbling. You're not actually noticing that the truth is being blared to you by a horn. And it's not that the truth is subjective to who's telling it. It's actually that the truth is kind of an awakening within yourself, where you think, I didn't see it that way. So it's not in the sense that you're wrong to be looking at what's crumbling. It's actually just that you're not quite paying attention as to why. You know, with Judgment here, looking away from Judgment and trying to ignore such a blaring apocalyptic day of reckoning is dangerous. Especially because if you try to ignore Judgment, much like if you try to ignore a Scorpio, you'll either be met by deafening sound or deafening silence. Either is deafening. You just have to listen. Okay, Leo? So this is a very interesting time. And it's not to say that it's all going to be heavy and negative. It's actually just with the Knight of Swords there. It's just that you might be a bit more impulsive, jumping to conclusions and rushing in and out of things than you would care to. When Neptune goes retrograde in Pisces, you will probably be able to see the perspective of the person you're dealing with a bit better. Right off the bat, we have the Lover's energy, we have the Six of Pentacles, we have the Wheel of Fortune, we have the Page of Wands, we have the Tower yet again, because it doesn't want to be ignored and you're ignoring it. That's all. That's why it's there. Judgment. And the Three of Pentacles. Yeah. See what happens when you listen. You can rebuild. If you stop feeling trapped and start realizing with the Magician that you have more power in your hands than you realized. Ace of Swords, communication is key. Why is it such a problem? If you're dealing with somebody who is a fellow fixed sign, a Scorpio, another Leo, an Aquarius, or a Taurus, they're in your positive position. They're helping you. So fate actually has an idea of what's going on here. It's all occurring in sort of a divine timing way Leo, and it's very much that you're your own problem here. Your communication style in particular is what is causing you trouble, because some of it is quite petty. With the Page of Wands being in the challenge, it's that your own energy is making you petty or childish. And I don't know why. Because on the one hand, we have the Six of Pentacles right in the middle. And on the other hand, we have the Lovers here. So we have these two sixes which are really quite different, because the Lovers is all about a connection between two people, and the Six of Pentacles is all about giving, right? So we have this giving energy. You want to be given to, or you fear not being given to. The equal give and take with your love relationships in mid-June, going into July, is up for question, because you're being triggered. You're being triggered by all these different points. Jupiter in your romantic sector, in your 5th house of romance, is being challenged. It has been very challenged during Gemini season, particularly by Neptune being in your jealous and possessive soulmate arena. And those two clashing is tricky, because you don't know how intense you can be until you've said what you've said. So what we're sort of seeing here is this intense catharsis almost with Judgment and the Tower here, Leo, drudging up things, breaking down things, and at the end of it you're kind of left with this silence. And what you're listening to, if you would only listen, Leo, because I think with the Page of Wands here, your conversation is problematic. If you don't only listen with Judgment, they're actually holding out their hands to the sound of this pipe. So if you're dealing with somebody who's trying to tell you something, they're used to being listened to, and you're not so willing to listen. The Tower here, it always comes up when a foundation has been somewhat false and somewhat unstable anyway. It can't crumble if the foundations are stable. In fact, that's what we see very much in the drawing. It's not that it started from the top, it's from the bottom that's the problem. So where you're seeing the fire isn't actually where the problem lies. So the things that are being said from your mouth in particular, or indeed somebody else's, aren't the truth of what the problem is. The problem's down here. And you won't know until you fall out the window and see it for yourself. The problem wasn't here, it was down here. So with Judgment, all of this coming from the top is not necessarily what is true. What is actually true is more so that the give and take in your relationships, even in courtships that are fresh, there is a need for collaboration to stop you feeling so restricted, because you feel a little bit like your pride means you can't ask for help, you can't ask for advice, and you don't know what to do. Somebody else knows what to do. They may be a Gemini that knows exactly what you need, but the Magician comes in here to remind you, Leo, that everything that you want is up for grabs and comes from your own mind and your own speech. The Magician is very much Gemini energy, but it's also this alchemy energy that indicates that you already have all the tools to make the outcome different for yourself. So whatever this challenging Tower Judgment moment is, the Magician says you've more control over it. And interestingly enough, with the Wheel here, this circular, cyclical events where you feel like you're going round and round and round and round and round is actually a good thing this month. So what has repeated itself possibly for many of you is repeating itself until you finally get the lesson that the expectation needs to change. For whatever this problem is, the expectation needs to change. With the Magician and the Wheel of Fortune, you have the power to make your thoughts reality. You have your power to make things better. But if you get in your own way with the Page of Wands here and you perpetuate these petulant narratives of me, or you feel like you're dealing with someone who's very me, that's never going to work. What will work is the equal give and take. When somebody is vulnerable, you need to look after them. And then when you're vulnerable, they'll look after you. These people know they can't give anything back. He knows they can't give anything back. But he knows that one day he will need someone to tend to him. So he tends to others. There's something very karmic about this. And as we talk about Neptune retrograding in Pisces, and how that will shift your perspective about your intimate relationships, particularly romantically, as well as having the Jupiter aspect to that, where there has been problems with Jupiter and Neptune. So if your love life has been in chaos, Leo, it's very much to do with the stars. Very much so. And that lunar full moon conjunction in Sagittarius, in your romantic sector, really hitting with Jupiter and Mars and Pluto and Saturn and all these different oppositions going on at the same time, the skies couldn't be any more intense. So I get why there's arguments here. I get why you're having a tower moment. I get why the full moon in Sagittarius is alarming you more than making you have all these amazing romantic moments. But what's actually happening here is that it's teaching you the power of collaboration, how sometimes listening to the fanfare is the best thing you can do for rebuilding. Because judgment can also be very much about, drudging up the past just to have a Three of Pentacles moment where you collaborate, if you would only decide not to feel restricted by your own mind. Because you are the magician. At the end of this chaos, you find your strength and your power. And with the Wheel of Fortune here in your positive position, you will be unstoppable once you do. You just have to get past the unbreakable being broken. Because sometimes tearing down an old building that is derelict and rebuilding something better in the same space with better intentions and better motivations, it can be a completely different form of architecture. And that's kind of what your life is at the moment, Leo. So if this full moon in Sagittarius feels incredibly testing, the outcome is going to make you happy, because you're going to see it as an opportunity to use your tools and rebuild something stronger and something better. Because fate has a really good plan. You just have to have a level of trust and listen to the signs with open ears. So I love you guys, and I will see you in the next set of readings. Bye, Leo.